Hey, how you doing today? I am Tequila Coleman. In today's video, I'm going to answer another question. In this one, I'm going to read her comment and then we're going to jump into my response, okay? So I recorded a previous video on divine replacement spouse, okay? Because there was a lot of talk about God is sending divine replacement as if God is a guy who lies, right? And so I did two videos on does God send, divine replacement spouses, right? And one of the videos is where this comment came from. So I'm going to read her comment and then we're going to jump into my response. So she said, so the first reason you gave as to the reason why we could be seeing these videos, the scales fall off and you begin to see that God maybe wasn't really in this. So what she is referring to is I stated in, I believe it was the first video, that one of the reasons why I believe we are seeing these divine replacement spouse video is because when after a breakup or after you have taken a liking to a certain person, right? And let's say whatever happened, it could be a breakup, it could be heavy rejection, whatever the case may have happened, right? We can be so fixated on this person being our spouse to where we're not even receiving what the Lord is saying to us, right? And sometimes, seeing will blind you. Okay, it creates scales over our eyes, right, and our ears. So I was saying in the video, I believe the reason why we seeing and hearing all these divine replacement spouse video is because these individuals were once standing for people who God never chose. But at that time when they were standing and praying, they wasn't open to hearing what God was saying to them, right? And so and we do this all the time. We can hear God telling us that's not it, that's not the one, but because our heart is set on this individual being the one, we block out what God is saying, we ignore what God is saying, and we try to make it work with this one, only to later realize this not the one, right? So that's what she's saying here. She said, I feel like I'm in that place. I was in a rush. I wanted it now. And now that I'm diligently seeking God, I feel the renewal and scales are off. And I really don't feel this is who I'm supposed to marry. What advice do you have for this situation? I believe God would give me clarity, but I also feel confusion on this matter. So, thank you for your comment. Let's talk about it. Now, something you said in here, something you wrote is standing out to me right now. You said, I really don't feel this is who I'm supposed to marry. Now, feeling like this isn't who you're supposed to marry and knowing this isn't who I'm supposed to marry, that's two different things, okay? Because what you didn't say is God didn't tell me, that this individual is not who I'm supposed to be standing for. He didn't say this isn't my God ordained spouse. I don't read that in your comment. So I will say this, because sometimes when God present you to your God ordained spouse, and if they are a prodigal spouse, there will be confusion. There will be a lot of rejection. It may even be betrayal, okay? They may be involved in a whole nother relationship, right? And it could confuse you, the one who God is telling this is your God ordained spouse. It brings confusion to our mind because we're like, well, wait a minute. I know I heard God when you said this is my spouse, but yet I'm seeing all of this. They rejected me. They're not receiving me. They involved in another relationship. Like, did I hear God right? It can cause you to think this way, right? When the truth of the matter is you did hear God right, okay? I'm not talking about this particular situation. I'm just speaking. If God said to you, this is your God ordained spouse, but yet you see all this confusion taking place, you heard God, okay? It just, you're dealing with a prodigal, right? And the confusion is not coming from God, it's coming from the prodigal and those evil spirits, the devil that is in operation through this prodigal, okay? So I had to say that part so we could begin to understand, this particular situation. So like I said, understand feeling and knowing are two different things, because if you're seeing all these things happening and showing up in your God ordained spouse, if they're rejecting you, if they are involved in another relationship, if they're not even open to what God is telling them, and now that's causing you to feel like, I don't really believe this is God, because sometimes we could go into this with this mindset of thinking, God is not the author of confusion, and he's not. However, when you're dealing with a prodigal spouse, the confusion is going to come because he's a prodigal. He or she is a prodigal. Okay. They turned away from God. Right. So the confusion will come up. Right. And we can also think because God said this is my God ordained spouse, then it's supposed to naturally flow. It's supposed to be easy, right? We're not going to have or go through all of these things, and you're not supposed to. But again, this is a prodigal you're dealing with. And this is why God steps in and create that divine separation, because you cannot be unequally yoked together. So he caused that separation so that he can begin to work on the two of you, okay? And when he bring this back together, the two of you would now be on one accord. The two of you would now be equally yoked, and there would be no confusion because God isn't the author of confusion, okay? So I had to say all of that because I don't want you to think this individual isn't your God ordained spouse because of their rejection or the confusion, or they might be involved with someone else. If God didn't say that's not your God ordained spouse, then okay, you got to continue to go back to God and get the confirmation from him. Okay, get the clarity from God. Okay, us prophets, we can't give you, okay, the confirmation. God can, okay? You got to go back to God and ask God, is this the one you chose for me? I need clarity because I'm seeing this. I'm feeling confused, etc., etc. And God will confirm it to you. He will confirm it to you. And then after he confirmed it, ask him to confirm it again, just so, because, sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'd be like, that was a coincidence. I'd be like, God, give me one more confirmation, right? And God would give me another confirmation, right? So you want to know for certain that God didn't choose this one, and now I'm moving on from, this particular individual. Now, if that is the case, that God didn't choose this person and the scales are falling off, and now, now you realize that you were in a rush, and you wanted it now, and God now has you seeking after him, then you continue to do that. Let that individual go. Continue to seek after the Lord. Continue to allow the Lord to take you through that preparation, okay? Because he still has a God ordained spouse for you, right? So continue to go through your preparation. Try not to entertain these Ishmaels, okay? You don't want to entangle yourself in counterfeit relationships, okay? That God never ordained for your life, because all that does is just bring setback, right? All it does is bring hardship, unnecessary hardship to your life, when you could have just been, you could have just practiced patient, right? And just take a posture of, if you're not God ordained, I'm not entertaining you. Right? That's my attitude. If you're not God ordained, I'm not entertaining you, period. I don't have time, to be sitting up here wasting time with people who God never called me to be in relationship with. That is my attitude right now. And so I would recommend you adopt that attitude as well, because people will waste your time, and you were never called to be with this individual, So, but yeah, that's what I recommend, take this whole situation back to God. Put it on the altar and say, God, if this is who you call for me to be with, I ask that you give me confirmation. After you give me the confirmation, can you give me another confirmation? Just to where okay, I am confident that God chose this one. And if that's the case, ask God to give you understanding behind the situation, right? Ask him to give you, God, can you give me understanding why I'm going through all of this that I'm going through with my God ordained spouse? Because I know you chose this individual to be my God ordained spouse, but I just don't understand it. They with someone else. They are rejecting me. They're not receiving me. They're not being obedient to what you're saying. And I don't really understand. Like, really talk to God on that level. He want that. Okay. He want this intimate relationship, and he'll talk back to you. Okay. So, just stay in position, continue to prepare, and know that God has a God ordained spouse for you. Okay, so that is it. I am Tequila Coleman. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a positive comment. I'll talk to you all real soon. Take care.